2017 is called to order. Mr. Coachman, would you please have an invocation for us?
Let us pray. Gracious and eternal God and our Father, Lord God, we'd just like to thank you today for the gathering of your people. Thank you, Heavenly Father, allowing us to see another day. Ask you, Heavenly Father, to go with us tonight, Lord God. Ask you to search each and every heart in the building today and search our board members' heart, oh Heavenly Father. Let us do what's right for our children, oh Heavenly Father. Help us to protect and keep these children, Lord God. Thank you for the parents, oh Heavenly Father, and all that have assembled here tonight. Ask you to bless our children, our school districts all around the world. Bless our families, oh Heavenly Father, during these holiday seasons. Protect us and let no hurt, harm, or danger come to us. Thank you for what you have done, oh Heavenly Father. And thank you as you go with us tonight as we make the decisions of your children. These and all the blessings I do pray. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Coachman. There's been notification of the news media and the Marlboro Herald is represented. I need a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand.
Madam Chair.
Hang on a second, let me get the vote done. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Chair,
All right,
question.
1, 2, 3, 4. All opposed?
Now,
Are you opposed or for?
so I think it was a discussion before approval. The name you had?
My request is that it was quite a lengthy agenda, and I'm asking that we move the update from BIS at the top of the informational item, because these parents, they have to get home and get their children to bed because they have to go to school. And we are here to try to accommodate our clients who are the parents. And I'm just asking that we move that up.
Move what? The update?
Update on Bennettsville Intermediate School. Move that up, the first item for informational items.
Also, Madam Chair, I'd like to move up the reconfiguration for Bennettsville Intermediate School up as far as possible to allow the parents to get home to the students.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the amended agenda, please raise your right hand. 1, 2.
I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead. I'm going to abstain because I'm not sure what we're voting on here. I couldn't understand.
They want to scramble the agenda around.
There was no motion, Madam Chairman.
But this
There's already a motion on the floor. And there
Right,
was no
that we
follow-up.
approve the agenda, you're correct. All in favor of approving the agenda, please raise your right hand.
You talked about,
Approving the agenda as it's written.
okay. I'm for that, but
All right.
I'm willing to find out.
Okay, so 1, 2,
Wait a minute, what about the amendment? Was there an amendment?
Yes.
we had a motion on the floor to approve the agenda. Ms. Owenation is quite correct. We had a motion on the floor to approve the agenda. And if you,
And Dan had her hand up to say, wait a minute, and you told her wait until after that takes place. So, I mean, she had a problem with it, but you didn't respect it.
she wants to change the agenda, but that's not a motion, that's part of discussion. And if anyone has any other discussion about approving the agenda as it is written,
We've been amending it before we approved it in other circumstances. We have amended the agenda before we approved it.
I am asking in consideration of the parents. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 items, and then the one that the parents are mostly concerned about is the 9th item on this informational item. In consideration of these parents who has to work and who has to go home and send their children to bed, get their children to bed, I am asking that just out of just caring for them to move this item. Let us take care of that first.
all right, then Ms. Onation, would you like to withdraw your motion?
Yes.
Okay, and Ms. Fleming, make a motion, please, because we can't vote on discussion, we vote on a motion.
Ms.
Make a
Fleming, in your motion,
motion.
could you include both items, the reconfiguration and the...
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we move the item to update Bennettsville Intermediate School and the reconfiguration item, which is an action item with a vote needed, first on the agenda under informational items.
I second.
All right, all in favor of that, please raise your right hand. All right, and the motion's carried.
Thank you.
Next, we have approval of minutes for November 6th, 2017. Would someone please make a motion?
I'll move to accept the minutes of November 16th.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any disagreement? All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed?
I'm abstaining.
All right, raise your hands again so the secretary can get everything down. All in favor of the minutes, please raise your right hand and hold them up. Ms. O'Nation, Mr. Norton, Ms. Fleming, Ms. Parsons, Mr. Branch. All opposed to the minutes, please raise your hand. Mr. Woods, Mr. Coachman.
Madam Chairman, I'm abstaining. I was not here for November 6th
Okay,
meeting, so I
all
have no
right.
way to know whether they're
Okay.
right or wrong.
Madam Chair, thank you, I was not here either, so I'll have to abstain. I did not get the minutes until
So you're
just a
not
minute.
going to vote in favor of them, so
No,
strike
ma'am,
her
I'm going to
name.
abstain.
All right, so Mr. Driggers is abstaining, Ms. Fleming is abstaining, and anyone opposed?
Yes.
All right, what would you like to change?
No, you said, was anybody opposed? I said I'm opposed.
You're just opposed to the minutes?
Yes, because
Do you have anything you need to change?
there's nothing to change. It's just something that's missing, and that was that.
Well, then,
Oh, you want to know what's missing?
yeah,
Well,
we want the minutes correct.
Well, the
so
words
if
were
you're
missing
gonna
when I
disagree with them-
asked for a vote for the November 27th meeting for the BIS school, and those are not included in the minutes. But that doesn't change anything.
All right,
Right.
so the motion is carried. Next, we need to approve the minutes for the November 27th meeting. Would someone make a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any disagreement with those minutes? All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed? Which are you, Ms. Bright?
I abstain.
All right, the motion's carried. Ms. Bright is abstaining.
I'm abstaining because I
All right,
just received the
Ms.
minutes today.
And Ms. Fleming is abstaining. All right. Individuals or groups who wish to appear before the board. Mr. Charles Graham. Mr. Graham, if you'll wait just a moment till I get the timer set, I would appreciate it. All right, begin. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening, board members, board chair. First off, I'd like to thank Mr. Farr and the Marlboro County High School for a great job with Awards Day. I'd like to thank Mr. McCall and Ms. Jacobs at Blenheim Elementary Middle School for inviting me out for a career day for the third grade. First, I want to start off with the citizens really being lied to. Mr. Coachman just spoke about a part with his minutes being left off of the minutes about BIS, which was a special call meeting for BIS on Monday night. But when we showed up, board chair, you told us that was not on the agenda. If you go back on YouTube to the meeting that was held, it is clearly on YouTube that's what was voted on, and you stated that we would have a call meeting for BIS. And after the meeting that we had Monday night, Mr. Branch, I talked to you and Mr. Nation, and I told you, as my district representative, you was wrong for allowing that to take place because you really were supposed to represent us. And for you not to say anything, knowing that that's what had took place, like it was wrong. And Ms. Onazen, you from the Bennettsville district, it's the same thing. These are the kids that you both are voted in to represent, and to sit there and not say anything when that took place, that's not representing us like we need to be represented. And like Dr. Lane and Mr. Brandt, they asked the board members not to come to the special call meetings at the forums at Bennisville Elementary Middle. But you and Dr. Lane promised us at the next meeting, the BIS would be on the agenda. We've gone 2 meetings and it's finally here. But you gave us your word that that would take place, and it didn't. You know, if it's not going to happen, don't give us your word. That's all you got to stand on. And it didn't take place, and you also sat there. It didn't allow it to happen Monday night, and you said nothing. And you represent us too. Another thing, this county has scanners. It's wrong for somebody to lie and say that it was a fight in the library, to bring the police out to come check on us, knowing that a fight was not in the library. These policemen have jobs to do, and to lie to them and say there's a fight in the library and bring them out, that's wrong. It happened. It happened. I'm here. Y'all here. It happened. Check the police. You can go check with police, but I got it from the people out in the community. And as far as like being on the agenda for moving our kids to Clio, man, nobody else bust their kids nowhere. We gotta bust our kids to Blenheim and the Clio? Like seriously, like from parent standpoint and community standpoints, that ain't right.
Minutes is up, Mr.
Nobody
Graham.
else is bust out. Where's the attorney? He's not here tonight, so I'm not gonna bother him. Thank you.
Ms. Helen V. Hayes, and she wants to speak about mold.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for allowing me to stand up here and speak about the mold. What is mold? Mold is a toxin that some people, not all, are allergic to, mostly kids. And it's a bad situation to be in when you are made to go to an area that you know what's going to happen to you. You're going to get headaches, you're going to be sneezing, and sometimes respiratory problems occur by being in the presence of mold. So mold is a dangerous substance to be in, and the kids need to be moved out of that school, whether they're bused to Clio, whether they're bused to Blenheim. They need to be bused somewhere until you clean that school up. Mr. Norton, I'm a product of environmental health hazard. I believe you were personnel at that time when it happened to me. And I love the school district. I'm not upset. I didn't get upset when it happened to me. Mr. Norton knows what I'm talking about. But I did go to Mr. Norton and I explained to him the condition that was happening to me. But as you all do now, didn't believe the situation was occurring. And I kept going to him and telling him about the situation, but he was in disbelief. So me, Mr. Norton, a senator from South Carolina, we had to go to fight. We had to fight. And Mr. Norton, tell them who came out on top.
Yes, you did, but I don't remember.
Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I remember something about it.
You remember something like that? You remember we had to go to fight? We had to fight? You remember that? You don't? Let me refresh your memories, Mr. Norton. I hated to say this, but my hearing was damaged because I was in the presence of noise in a confined area. And I went to you and I told you about it, but you was in disbelief. And I don't mean to hurt any feelings, but I guess you were joking at the time, but you looked me in my eye and told me, if you can't hear me, read my lips. We will not pay for hearing aids for you. That's why I went to war. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. But I came out on top and I won.
I don't know who CB is. I guess it's CB. No, Keith Brewington. Okay, all right. KB, all right. And he wants to speak on reconfiguration.
Good evening, Madam Chair and board members. I researched over the years some of the items that the citizens of Marlboro entrusted you guys to. They were so happy when on January 18, 2011, scnow.com, when Ms. Parsons was the school board chair, we had a comment from Dewey Hamilton saying that the board really wasn't doing anything. The thoughts and wants of the population here in Bennettsville are not being met, and our kids weren't getting the proper education they should be getting. Then you had Nellie Washington. We should know more about what's going on. It should not be hidden, Washington said. We need to know what's happening in the schools with our kids and everything. The board should be familiar with Dr. Wagner and the welding, automotive, culinary arts, CNA, cosmetology, machine shops. That's a partnership with Northeastern Technical College, which would have some of the students here at the high school at the old Winn-Dixie building, or new Winn-Dixie building, whichever way you want to call it, and free up some more space here. I don't think, like someone already said, that we should be shipping our children all over, the ones from BIS. They should come here where there's enough room, where the reconfiguration was already mapped out and thought out. The only thing I can think of that would cause people to keep pouring money into a sick school is greed. And I don't know if I have to contact SLED to find out who's getting kickbacks and who's getting fat and want to keep our children sick. So I would ask that you really consider doing the right thing, get our children and staff out of harm's way, and put them over here, earmark the money that you're gonna save. Reconfiguration said 1.4 million would be saved, so half the school year. So this year you save 700,000, earmark it, demolish that school, build another one.
I'm still writing notes. All right. John Jefferson. I don't have the topic.
I don't really have a topic. I don't have a kid in school, but I will speak as a taxpayer.
Okay.
And happy holidays to everybody. Wish you the best. And from what it sounds like, the kids they need an option. And I would like to ask, did anyone ever suggest opening the old Winn-Dixie building up as an intermediate school? If not, why not? And the other question I have to ask is that I hear that they don't want to ship their kids out to McCall or to another school. Well, then do any of those cities ship their kids over here? It's the same balance. That's what education is all about, figuring out the problem. And we got some doctors up there, and their wounds open, and you need a doctor. I don't know if somebody gave you the towel and you want to sit back and look good with it, or you want to do something with it. But those are things you need to look at. Now, I pay taxes here, but I don't have no kids in the school. So I have a right to be here. I have a right to vote here, but I don't. You won't let me vote because I don't live here. So I have to live here in order for my money to benefit me. As long as I don't live here, it benefits you, and you have no problem with that. And I am very serious about it. You need to look at things like that. When Dixie building is sitting over there, and you complain about mold. What's wrong with putting the kids over there? Look at the taxpayer. You asking them for more money or whatever. They don't have the money. They got a building sitting there. Go to the doctor and open up for surgery. If they gave you the towel, they must figure you can do the surgery. If not, you can ask me. I'll give you some suggestions. I'm not a doctor, but I do take care of myself. And as I stated that I don't live here in Marlboro County, but I would like to say this. I have a hospital bill in Florence, Now, I pay my hospital bill down there. I'm not asking nobody in Florence to pay it for me. I'm responsible for my own. Now, here I am over here. I'm paying for the kids over here. Are you going to pay for my hospital bill? Wouldn't that be kind of average out, level out? Okay, Mike, you look like a doctor over there. You got any suggestions?
I'm gonna make them in a little bit, Judge.
Okay, well, you need some help. I'm open. Now, you said you know me. I'm telling you didn't know me.
Appreciate it.
I'm open for any kind of suggestion you want on any subject. You ask me about it, more than likely I can give you advice. Not advice that I was taught, but advice that I've come from within. It don't come from somebody teaching me this. You don't get experience from teaching. You get experience from living it. Anyway, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Representative Patricia Hennigan. It's apropos that you're going to speak about the Winn-Dixie building. Explain what's going on in there.
And sincerely, I'm not going to do that tonight. I leave that up to Dr. Wagner and his staff and the Board of Trustees. But there's something that I sincerely would like to. But first, I would like to recognize you all as the School Board of Trustees and say thank you all for your job. Dr. Lane, thanks for listening to me the other day when I wanted to make some proposals, and I appreciate that. And to all in attendance, especially our children, thank you all. As your legislator, I want the children of this county to know how proud I am of them. They come to school every day with the purpose of learning. But sometimes we forget one thing, that these children will be sitting soon where you're sitting. They will be making the decisions for their lives and others' lives. They will be making decisions as to where children should be and how safe they should be in certain schools. And that's something that we need to think about now, because right now we're recognizing those children. But I have something else I want to share with you tonight, and I think it's kind of good news too. Many have asked, and I know you all remember, when the 9th and 10th graders, and they were talking about a dual enrollment program, and people were against it, and they said there's no way in the world 9th and 10th grade students can do well taking college courses. And I'll never forget that, because I couldn't understand why, because I was a gifted and talented teacher, and I know they could do anything they wanted to. That's right. But let me tell you this, they can, and they did. In 2017, we had 64 students enrolled in the dual enrollment program, and that was the fall of 27. Now I have some statistics I want to share. 9th grade, 23 students in the program. Guess what? All of them passed. All of them passed. 10th grade, 18 students. All of them passed. That's good. And this number will increase to 40 students in the next year. 11th and 12th graders, I did my best to try to find out if all of them passed, and I still don't have that from Dr. Wagner as of yet. But Marlboro Technical Education Program, the school, have 334 students pre-semester. And a few minutes ago, they were talking about all the courses that they're taking over here. A partnership with Northeastern Technical College and Marlboro County School District would allow dual enrollment for all the current students, which means that will be 466 students that will be taking credit courses, college courses. Now that's something that we need to sincerely think about. And that means that we will have 42% of the total enrollment at Marlboro County High School taking college courses. That's a win-win for the board. That's a win-win for the students. And God knows it's a win-win for the parents. And we're making progress, if you think about the Winn-Dixie building with the sign up there. The only thing we need now are students. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you for allowing me to be on the program for just a second. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next is individual board items for the January board meeting. Ms. O'Nation?
Nothing at this time.
Okay.
Somebody else signed up.
I didn't have another sheet. Did you sign out on a sheet over here? Do you have one, Ms. Pearson?
Yeah, let her have it.
It's fine. Come on forward. I think what y'all are supposed to do is sign up with Ms. Pearson beforehand. I wasn't meaning to exclude you. I just didn't have your name.
Yeah, that's what happened last week.
Oh, did
or
it?
the other week as well.
Well, you can't speak in a special
No,
call
not the
meeting.
special meeting, the meeting before that.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Please
So
tell
can I
me
have
your
6
name.
minutes? It's Brittany Stecky.
All right. Hold on.
Okay.
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 You have 3 minutes.
Okay, I guess I'll start from the beginning. For me, Bennettsville Intermediate, to me, it's been enough. Mr. Lang, I'm not happy. You told me that that last meeting we had before the special, I would be happy. I'm not. To me, it should have been enough when the teachers came up here with the principal with their inhalers. That should have been enough. When we first came up here, me and my daughter and the guy Chuck Graham came up and you were made aware of this situation, that should have been enough. I shouldn't have had to hear about a 9-year-old being diagnosed with lung disease. I shouldn't have had to take my own daughter several times to the hospital with upper respiratory infections, chronic headaches, stomach aches, I mean, the works. To hear resource students, I mean the disabled, that they're having to see specialists, pulmonary specialists because of their lungs, and to see the condition, to be in the condition, to experience the condition, to see teachers with swollen eyes, I'm just like, enough is enough. That last meeting, to be quite frank with you, that special meeting was like a 3-ring circus. And it honestly made me embarrassed to be a part of just even sitting. Because I'm like, this is not a game. These are these children's long-term as well as short-term health. When they leave those buildings long time, I mean, seriously, some of these kids are gonna want to go to college. Mine is. I don't want that child to be sitting there with things that happened that I could have did something about when she was 9 years old. And here it is, these health conditions are gonna be gone long and carrying with them long after they leave that school. The teachers as well, we have good teachers. My daughter was in the GT program. Ms. Crawley, I mean, and so many others, great teachers, but when you put anybody in a pressure cooker, what do you expect? They're getting sick just like the kids. So for me, we need to reconfigure the school. We need to handle this, and we need to do it with dignity and respect. If we say Marlboro strong, we need to mean it full circle. It's not just for one person, but for all, and it's not just a race situation. I've talked to white kids as well as blacks. The health is a serious, serious situation. If I could have brought the EPA in, I would have. If I could have brought DHEC in, I would have. But we have to address this because this is these kids and these adults' health. So at this point, I will be helping to do legislation. So moving forward, you have to protect the innocent. We as parents have to be the voice for our children who cannot speak. So that's it.
Thank you. All right, back to the items for the January board meeting. Mr. Woods.
Yes, Madam Chair, I would like for some information to be brought back on a new sign for Marlboro County High School, and also I'm looking to a visual scoreboard for our athletic field.
Which one?
Marlboro County
Out
High.
here.
Just information to see what we can do, because our sign is not appropriate and our scoreboard needs some work too.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Driggers.
I'm jumping out of turn here, but could we maybe postpone that till we get the part about the updates here? Or maybe something somebody would like to put on the agenda for the next meeting after we go through those updates and
Sure.
everything. Does that agree with everybody around the board? Maybe I can hear these other stuff, then come back and do our things for next agenda?
It don't matter, man. She just asked the question, I just answered. Yeah.
I'll pick back up where we are
Okay,
and
no
go right on
problem.
around the room.
Just in my mind.
All right, so let's see. Next, Mr. Woods, legal counsel.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, I'd like for us to revisit what we talked about early part of the year, that we revisit, that we set up a workshop to not, in maybe 18, to hear from other law firms that may could represent the district. We made agreement that we was going to listen to other law firms that do a presentation.
All right. And next, the sound system at Marlboro County High School.
Yes, ma'am. Also, the sound system at Marlboro County High School. The other night, I was at the basketball game, and our children were trying to perform, and the system needs some serious work, and asking could we take a look at that.
Or replace.
Or be replaced. It need to be replaced bad. It was cracking and was popping and everything.
Okay. And let's see, then we're going to skip down. We're going to leave off the information items and go down to updates on Bennettsville Intermediate School. And Mr. Parks, would you please give us the financial options on that?
Certainly. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Lane. I'd like to talk to you about some of the financial options and provide some clarification on what those are at this point. I've included a PowerPoint in your packet, and we'll look at that at this time. Next. Provide some clarification on the penny sales tax. The district has the only penny available, and that penny tax expires January of 2038. Next.
So that means we don't have the option.
We do not have the option to adopt another, allow the taxpayers to adopt another penny. We have the only one that's allowable. Regarding borrowing capacity, without a referendum, Marlboro County School District Board can only borrow approximately $4 million. That's what your authority is.
So with the referendum?
With a referendum, yes, we can obviously exceed that.
With the referendum approved by the voters of this county, you can't exceed that amount?
That's correct. Next slide. And the voters must give approval for the district to borrow more than $4 million. Okay, next. Looking at how many mills it'll take to borrow. If we borrow $5 million, and this is a 15 to 16 year financing term, there's no additional millage that we would have to levy. 10 million, 5 mills. 15 million, 14 mills.
Mr. Park, how much is each mill's worth?
That is, each mill is worth a little over $50,000. And we'll see what it costs in terms of, just say, a taxpayer. Looking at a $20 million bond issue, 22 mills. 25 million is 31, so we're at that point in time we would almost double our debt service millage. Right now our debt service millage is 33, and to borrow 30 million it would take 39 mills, and this is a 15-year financing term, estimated 4% cost of interest costs.
And all of this would have to be approved through the referendum, correct?
That is correct. Even the $5 million borrowing that wouldn't require any additional millage.
Mr. Parks, for the benefit of this audience, would you just, okay, let's look at 25 million for 31 mil, and break it down to this audience. What does that mean in terms of taxes?
Very good. Next slide. Well, I think that's a great point. Give you an idea, what does a mill cost a taxpayer? 1 mill on a $20,000 vehicle costs $1.20 a year. On a $50,000 residence, 1 mil costs $2 a year. On a $100,000 rental, 1 mil would cost $6. So you can look at, for example, 31 mils, which is a $25 million bond issue. On a $20,000 vehicle, that would be $37.20 annually. A $50,000 residence, that's $62 annually. And then if you had a $100,000 rental or any owner-occupied residence would be $186 a year at 31 mils.
Joe, the taxpayer, he has a $50,000 home and a $20,000 car. We're talking 7, 8, 9, 99, almost $100 more per tax per year.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And the 31 mills, is that be based on $22 million?
That's a $25 million borrowing. So we're looking in increments of $5 million. I didn't include 0 mills, which would get us $5 million, and of course 0 mills wouldn't cost anything.
The 22 mills would give us about what, $10-15 million?
At 22, that would give us $20 million.
So $20 million. Go back to the second screen again. At $20 million, it would cost the taxpayers $26 more on a vehicle and $44 a year more on a home, $50,000 home.
On a $50,000, correct. It's everything's tied to value.
How would it affect businesses?
Well, obviously, when you look at businesses, they're what we call a 6% taxpayer typically, for real estate anyway. And for real estate, you can see half of, if you took, that would be $93 on a $50,000 business real estate. On a $100,000 business real estate, it'd be $186. When you look at other type of business property, it's actually at a higher rate. It's at a 10.5% assessment ratio. The rental property is at a 6% assessment ratio.
Rental property, you're talking about any home that you do not live in.
That is correct.
Rental property, whether you rent
Could
it
be,
or not.
could be vacant land for that matter. Could be a second residence.
Okay, let me ask, now let's clarify that. I hear what you're saying, Mr. Driggers. If I'm renting a house for, the house is valued at $100,000, it's going to cost me, the renter?
Well, it's going to cost the owner of the property. Now, the question is whether or not the owner passes that cost, that tax cost on to the tenant may be another issue.
The rental pays nothing, but the owner might decide to pass it on to the renter. That's the
An increased rent, certainly.
Okay. But if you're renting, you're not paying anything.
Right, you don't have ownership.
Absolutely.
That's correct.
I think it helps us if we remember that most people that have a car also have a home, have a business, and so on. So it's not just one part, but if you live here, you're associated with a number of things. And if you have a home that's more than 50,000,
it'll be greater than that.
You know, that's a very palatable amount there with 50,000.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that when we want our audience to understand what is happening, so they can understand how this plays out, how we can do the things that we do. Now, I'm not sure how Chesterfield did it, but they did, Chesterfield County. I'm not sure how Florence did it, but they did. I'm not sure how Dillon County did it, but they did. And they have upgraded their facilities, and they made their facilities better. I think you brought it to us previously, what the millage was in different areas, and I'm not asking you for this tonight, but I want this audience to understand it's going to cost something.
Something substantial.
It's going to cost something. It's going to cost everybody something.
Certainly.
I own a house. I own a car. I got some other things that I'll need to pay on. So, but let the audience understand, if you're renting in the projects, you're not paying this money. If you're renting from a rental, he might decide to pass it on to you. Well, that maybe he will, maybe he wouldn't pass the whole cost on to you. But let's not put the wrong information out there. Let the audience understand how this works, so they will not run leaving out. I rent property and my taxes are going up. It doesn't work that way, people.
Madam Chair, can I get a little more clarification? I'm trying to understand what you guys are saying about these taxes, but this is an annual increase on that millage. And we're only talking about a couple of $100 right now at this rate, at the 31 mil rate, which would bring 25 million in for the board to oversee new construction or reconstruction, whatever needed to be done, and our children can be in a healthier environment. Personally, I do own a car and a home and some other property. So it's gonna cost me a little bit more than the average person. But when we look at the time frame, we're talking about a whole year. I mean, we might give up McDonald's once a month and save that.
Wait. Go ahead, Wes.
Let me mention, of course, since when we look back to 2006, there was a failed referendum. That was 66 million. But since then, when you start looking at what the district has done, of course, they passed Blenheim, 18 million. There was another $3.5 million to complete that project. So that's 21.5 million. Another $20 million with Wallace. So that's $41.5 million. And then, of course, in 2007, to do the renovations on existing facilities, that was another $10 million. So since 2006, the district has borrowed $51.5 million to make capital improvements.
When is the last time we've had a millage increase?
The last time was 2013. When we look at, we had an operating, there was a little switch. I'll certainly bring that information back to you so you can kind of see what transpired during that period.
2013?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm trying to...
Well, I'll bring that back to you. I'll be glad to show you a chart.
I hear you want to bring...
Let's let him go ahead with the presentation, right?
We want to bring the audience along with us so they'll understand. Okay.
Okay. I'm not sure whether
Mr.
there
Parr,
really is...
just to clarify, if the house is worth $60,000, how much does it increase?
It does. It increased by 20% of that.
So it's not the numbers that he's giving you are base numbers. When you increase values, it goes up exponentially. Now you said there's a 10.5% rate on businesses.
On business
Explain
property.
that, please, because we've got many people out here who have their own businesses.
There's not a lot of people, not many people, maybe a couple.
Maybe some. Well, what happens with business property, whatever the fair market value is whatever the cost of that business property is, if you multiply it by 10.5%, then you multiply it, by the millage rate. Where rental property, rental real estate is at a 6% rate, principal residence is at 4%. Vehicles are at 6%. So we do have, we've got kind of a complicated property tax system in South Carolina as far as how things are taxed.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You got a question on that, Madam Chair?
Okay. Any other questions that you might want to ask? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, would you please give us the ongoing work that's going on at Bennettsville Intermediate?
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, and Dr. Lane. Excuse me. Thank you for the lights. I see a little bit better. Can I just throw in one quick thing about Blenheim for you? I didn't know what I was supposed to speak on, but I put Blenheim up first.
Okay.
The grading of the girls' softball field and the men's baseball field is 50% complete. The football soccer field is approximately 20% complete. Just to let you know where we are. The status of BIS, the installation of new BARD units, or the HVAC units that are on the 5th and 6th grade wing, have been installed in B wing, and which is the 5th grade, and 4 classrooms in the A wing. Or they're not classrooms, they're used for office, I guess, space. And I wanted to make a note. I read the focus groups' concerns, and one of them was, that we need to put dehumidifiers in each room. And I just wanted to let the public know that the new BARD units that were purchased and have been installed have a built-in dehumidifier in each unit. So that's an upgrade from the previous type systems that we had. Remaining BARD units to be installed are in the nurse's office, ISS office, teacher lounge, and cafeteria. There's 6 more units that I have not put in yet, and they're scheduled to be installed over the Christmas break. We wanted to do that when there weren't children, excuse me, in and out of the cafeteria. And the nurse wouldn't be there, and so forth. All the light grading has been completed around both A and B wings. That's where the engineer's scope of work was to make sure the water got away from the foundations of those 2 wings. And that's been completed, grassed, and seeded. Shepherd and Associates, the architects that we engaged for the roof on the front section, or the 1982 section of the school, they have completed the testing which is required on the roof, on the front portion of BIS, and are preparing the documents, and includes plans and specifications for removing and replacing the existing roof on the newer portion of the building. Mechanical design engineers, they're looked at the HVAC. They are developing the plans and specifications for the removal and replacement of the existing HVAC units. Now, those are the ones that would be on the front portion of the building that are on the roof, not on the sides of the building. And then the Sims group has completed their design for new lighting in the front portion of the school. Their recommendation is to change from fluorescent to LED lighting, which will be a reduction of approximately 50% of the cost for the lighting that you're paying now on your electric bill. And it'll pay for itself within a year, after a year and a half. Are there any questions?
Yes.
Ms. Fleming.
I'm looking at this, I'm not sure what you have. It says funding used for BIS, HVAC cleaning, $86,000. That's not correct. That has been done.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, HVAC replacements dash classroom, $135,000. Has that been done?
Yes, ma'am, in the classrooms. Now, in that price is also, excuse me, in that price is also the cost for the other 6 that have not been installed, but it will be in December.
And then drainage rehab, $50,000.
That has not been completed, only on A and B wings. There's some other areas around the front of the building and by the auditorium, but I haven't got to those because of the students in the building.
So what I'm reading to right now, since the summer of 2017, we have spent $271,000 at BIS.
I don't know the numbers.
Okay, you got $86,000 for cleaning.
Right.
135 classroom replacements for classroom.
Right.
I guess that's HVAC system, and the $50,000 for draining. These are the figures that I'm reading that was given to me. $271,000.
That all has not been spent yet.
It's not been spent. Oh,
no, ma'am.
What has been spent?
The 86 has been spent. And there was another 110, I believe, were for the units. And I'm not sure on the installation to date, but I'm thinking it was like 20,000.
So we're
So
saying.
that's about 130. Is that what you said before?
She said 135.
135. Okay, yeah, you're very close. And then the 50 hasn't been spent.
The 50 hasn't been
We
spent.
probably haven't spent maybe 10 of that.
So we can take, if we take the 50,000 from the 271,000, that leaves like 220,000.
I have that number in my head from
About
about 220.
220,000
Yes, ma'am.
since the summer of 2017.
Yes, because we started in July when we started the cleaning.
That is mind-boggling considering all the questions, all the problems, and we are still spending money there. It is mind-boggling that this is the first time as a board member that I have seen these figures. And this is what we have spent in less than from June, July, August, September, October, 5 months. We spent this on a building that children is having real problems with. And I understand you were given, I don't know where they came from because it never came before this board to do this. But this is what has happened. Parents, a BIS, we have spent $220,000 in 5 months on a building that is fixed. You can fill in whatever you want to. But I just wanted to clarify that, Mr. Brown. And we have been discussing this for months about the reconfiguration, the problems there. The parents have been complaining since school started, and we are still putting money there. Let us make some decisions before we spend this money. Mr. Parks, I got this information on Abbeville. That Abbeville money, would you explain to this audience what that Abbeville money, why we got that money, if you would?
Certainly. There were 48 districts that had a poverty rating of 80% or greater. The legislature provided $55.8 million, allowed each district to make application for $1 million.
Okay, let's go back a little further. Let's give some history on Abbeville. It took 20 years.
It's a 20-year suit.
Yeah. And the reason they sued, what was the reasoning? I just want him to.
If you want him to present, you need to let him do it.
I want him to. I'll give the history. Start if you can give so this audience will have the history of why we have this. We're getting this money.
Very, very brief history. The district was one of the plaintiff districts that sued the state and made the case that the state did not provide a minimally adequate education. And that comes in the form of facilities. It comes in the form of really funding to those economically disadvantaged districts like Marlboro. We were one of 34 plaintiff districts that was part of the original Abbeville suit. The courts ruled in favor of the plaintiff districts in 2014. They required that the legislature act to provide funding to assist those districts with making improvements. And one way they did that was by allocating $55.8 million towards facilities, allowing those districts then to make application. 3 projects, $1 million each. We were awarded $1 million, and then we've also received $163,000 in a separate allocation. So we have $1,163,000 that is available to address deferred maintenance and other issues with our facilities.
So it's for, you said preferred maintenance. And
Deferred maintenance. Typically, what we've seen with districts, because it's so expensive to do things like roofing and HVAC, most districts have used that money to address roofing. For example, just to give you an idea, we've got 20 acres under roof. Every acre costs about $600,000 minimum to $1 million. So somewhere between $12 and $20 million just to re-roof every facility in our district. That's a substantial piece of money. And so obviously that's an area that we included in the application to address re-roofing the 1982 portion of the Bennettsville Intermediate School, and also to include HVAC units to hopefully assist with air quality within that school.
Mr. Parks.
Excuse me.
We
Yes,
haven't
sir.
spent any of that money yet.
We have not.
So we have not spent any of the $1,163,000.
That is correct.
Haven't spent any. Okay.
We haven't even bid the job yet. The architect, of course, is preparing those plans. When we make application, we've got to indicate what it is that we're going to do with the funds, and that's what we've indicated in the application.
Thank you, Mr. Parks.
Whose decision, I mean, I understand Mr. Lane only works for the board, and I know everyone else works for other people, but if we got $1 million because they did not do the right thing more than 20 plus years ago, and now we get maybe $1 million, which is not a lot of money, I don't want it messed up again, because that's why we're getting the money, because we messed up 20-some years ago. This money needs to be, whenever I leave this board, we want to say Abbeville money did something for the children in this area, because we are designated, we are a poverty area. We don't want this money to spend for just because we can spend it. And I'm going to address this to Mr. Lane.
Ms. Fleming?
Yes, ma'am.
We're at a point on the agenda where we're getting facts in the form of an update, and Mr. Brown was presenting. So we need to return to that and let the opinion items come later.
Ms. Parson,
would you continue, Mr. Brown?
I think we want our audience who
Ms. Fleming,
the children are our clients.
Ms. Fleming,
and if we do not have children,
Ms. Fleming,
we would not have a job. We would not need Mr. Brown or Mr. Parks.
We are in an item on the agenda.
I understand.
Ms. Fleming,
I understand.
We are in an item on the agenda where Mr. Brown.
So the agenda is more important than the parents. You made a decision.
My job here is to keep us on track with the agenda.
So we can't deviate to take care of the real needs of people.
Mr. Brown has the floor. Mr. Brown, would you please continue?
Go ahead, Ms.
Ms.
Fleming.
Fleming, I want everybody to stay calm and let's get on with the meeting in an orderly way. Mr. Brown, would you please continue?
Yes, thank you. Ms. Fleming, let me share this with you on what we have done at BIS. The board voted. Now, I know everybody didn't vote for it, but the board did vote and instructed me to hire the necessary engineers and architects to address the issues that were outlined in the jail engineering report. And that's what I have done. As far as the barred units are concerned, the 86,000, or not as the cleaning. As far as the barred units are concerned, that's the 120,000 number. Those units replace the ones that were there. They've been upgraded to a better unit, and we also put new thermostats in also, so they're all regulated now. But those units, whatever the district decides, those units can be used if you decided you wanted to build another building. You got 23 units that you wouldn't have to purchase. They can be reused. If you wanted to tear the building down, you could take them and use them. We have BART units at McCall, I think, and Clio maybe, in primary school. So it's not that we've wasted that money, as I just wanted to share. I was careful with where we, took you on that. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Parson. Mr. Brown.
Yeah.
I understand that the work is being done at BIS, and those who are doing the work, do they indicate, because we spent this type of money, do they indicate that it's safe for the children to attend that school? Because what we are seeing is that parents and people have presented to us for the last meetings that people are getting sick in that building. So I'm just, I know you might not, but I'm just asking the question, the people who are doing that work at BIS, and then we come back and parents and staff have shared their concerns of being ill and being sick, are we wasting money out there? Yes. Or is it safe for children to go out there? I'm just asking. You maybe you might not know the answer.
I don't know. Do y'all want to answer this? Or well, he asked me the question. That's what I'm asking. You want me to? Okay. To answer your question, Gel Engineering was the engineering firm that we hired, and they sent in the industrial hygienist, and he's the one that came and made his presentation to you. And he showed you the amount of dust and dirt that was in the ductwork, hanging off the ceilings. But in his report, and this is not my opinion, this is his. And
I know about the report.
Okay, well, it says there's no current condition exists that warrants the evacuation.
I understand the report. I'm just asking a question that it appears that the work is being done, right? I'm understanding that.
Yes.
But the question I'm asking is, how are we still having these problems with our children being sick? And I understand the report, but reports could be wrong and falsified.
All right.
That's what I'm asking, because I don't think none of these parents or none of these staff that work in this district and students that go to that school or parents will come out here and present to this board that their children are being on homebound, their children have medication, inhalers, even reports. I deal with reports every day, and I have seen reports being falsified. I'm not saying, I'm asking a question, why are we still having these problems?
I have a question of you, Mr. Woods. Are you saying that the report is falsified?
Did I say that? I say reports can be falsified.
But are you saying...
I'm not saying that. I say they can be falsified. The problem is that we need to pay attention to what is happening, is that people are coming to this board presenting evidence that their children are being sick and staff are saying they are being sick. The question I'm asking is that work appropriately, is it safe? Because we're looking at people coming to us month after month talking to us about their health. And that's, I'm concerned about children being safe and not being sick and our staff. That's my concern. And you don't have to answer the question, but that's my concern, because I don't think no one will be coming before us if they didn't have documentation from doctors that their children are being sick.
Mr. Woods, could you let him answer your question?
What I can tell you is what the engineer or the industrial hygienist said was there was no condition existing that warrant the evacuation, removal, and transfer of faculty and or students from Bennettsville Intermediate School due to the presence of microbiological hazards. Now, that is when he did his first evaluation. But he also noted the ductwork were dirty and the BART units were filthy and so forth and so on. We have replaced those units, which took out, he had 18 recommendations, and about 6 or 7 of those were concerned on the BART units. But by replacing those units, and cleaning that building and the ductwork, that's why I recommended at the last meeting that we get another opinion, a follow-up or a post-opinion of the work we've done to see what the condition is. I mean, I don't know how else you could judge it, but I would think that that school didn't get that dirty in 6 months. It took years to get there. And all of a sudden, after we've cleaned it and put these units in, now it's worse, is what the opinion is. And I'm saying, well, let's test it and see if that's a fact. I mean, I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I'll do what this board asked me to. And if that's what you want me to do, I'll take care of it.
No, my biggest concern, Mr. Brown, is these children and staff, and I understand what you're saying.
I'm concerned about these children and staff.
I know you are. I know you are, but my question was, and it's okay. The thing that I'm mostly concerned about is that we need to pay, all of us on this board really need to pay attention how the parents and staff will present to us about the illness in the sick building. So that's all I have to say.
Yes, sir.
All right. Is that all of your update?
Yes.
Madam Chairman, just
Yes.
one question.
Yes.
You
Ms.
mentioned
Emanation.
that the jail engineering recommended about 18 things.
Yes.
And when we talked about that, that's what the board wanted to move forward on because they were doable. How many of those 18 have we been able to accomplish to date, approximately? You said about 6, is it 7
Oh,
or
no,
8?
there's several more than that. I mentioned in my last update on Monday night that we have done about 8 items, and we are working on another 5 right now. There are certain things, I think, in my estimation as a contractor and a construction manager, is that the work around the new building on the outside of the facility, that we don't need to have heavy equipment in there when students are in school. So I would delay that until the summer. So those items I have not addressed on the front section. I had done it on the back, but we had to do it on weekends. And then next to the auditorium, there where the water had infiltrated the material that they put on there for waterproofing, that auditorium is not being used. So I didn't want to do anything there with a heavy piece of equipment until we didn't have children on site.
You have plans for that as well.
Oh, yes, ma'am. We address everything, but you have to work around. And let me say that the principal, Mr. Singletary, and the staff have been very receptive and easy to work with. And, I've been in and out of the school a bunch and having to let them know that we'll be here tomorrow or the next day and give them in their schedule. They've moved around students for us, and they've worked, just to get all this done that we've done. And I appreciate their help.
Thank you for your work.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Next, we're going to hear from Ms. Julia Kane.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Coachman.
we were supposed to move the reconfiguration item up along with the BIS.
We're going down through all of these items in an orderly way, and then we'll come to reconfiguration.
Made a motion and approved to make the 2 changes.
These are all part of the same thing. You didn't say you wanted one ahead of the other. Let's
Dr.
try to
Lang,
keep some kind of order. All right.
I am
Ms.
using
Kane.
order. You're out of order because you didn't
Ms.
follow
Kane.
what was approved on the amended agenda.
Mr. Coachman, Ms. Kane has the floor.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Lane. I'm here to talk about the availability of space at Clio Elementary Middle School.
Okay.
Presently, there are 5 classrooms available. With a few changes, we'll be able to accommodate for 5 classes there.
Okay.
Now that would be, would you say 5 classes, 30, so that would be 150 students?
Yes, if we place 30 per class,
But
that would be that.
if you still got to figure out who's going to be a 3rd grader, who's going to be a 4th grader, who's going to be a 5th grader. So there may be some problems within that 150 because you've got to be able to accommodate them in their actual classroom, right?
Can you put 30 in a class
And
You can,
legally?
legally, yes.
At what age?
Say 5th graders, how many could you put in a class?
as to me, presently, I don't think personnel, but I'm thinking that we don't have a cap like we used to have where it was like 30, 35, but I think 30 is at some schools presently in classes. So at Wallace, I know they have 30-something.
36.
So.
All right. Anything else?
That's all I have
All right.
for tonight.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Gaines.
you.
And next on the agenda is Mr. Herbert McNeil. Mr. McNeil. Oh. And you to speak about the moving availability with bus service.
Yes, we put in place back in some first of summer back in May, June. We put in a plan with the State Department. That plan still stands. It stands today. Whatever adjustments we need to make, we really can't do anything until we finish the decision. Once we make the decision, we'll go from there. But everything should be, okay. It's all in the plan with the State Department already. We made it back in May with the superintendent. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. McNeil. And Dr. Lane, the new air quality test.
And thank you, Madam Chairperson. Board members, I think Reverend Woods asked the appropriate question. Is the work that has been done and is being done, is it effective or is it making a difference? I've spoken with Mr. Underhill, Michael Underhill from Somerville, South Carolina. He specializes in microbiology and environmental biology and environmental microbiology. And he's scheduled to be here on Saturday at 10 o'clock to conduct a separate test which would really be a second opinion. Of course, you know the one that Mr. Tim Brown had come in earlier, gave us his results, or Mr. Underhill would be a second opinion. But the earliest he can get here is Saturday.
Not soon enough, not soon enough.
And I would
make a decision.
I would concur with you. I really wish he could have gotten in.
And the other one came on a Saturday, by the way. So just an afterthought that they're coming.
Okay.
All right. Let's see, that's all of those. All right. Next is the reconfiguration for Bennettsville Intermediate School. Mr. Coachman.
Yes, ma'am. After hearing all the discussion and the talk, and especially the news that we got today from Dr. Lane, I saw the email from Chesterfield Marlboro Technical College, which said that they would be willing to take our CAPE program in the 2017-2018 school year, starting in August, and we'll put it in the new Winn-Dixie building, which would give us room out here at the old vocational school to move our kids from BIS out here to the vocational building. So that would help accommodate, and also would help us educationally wise to get over 400 students that will be getting dual credits. It's a plus. So I also talked with Hennigan about it and Dr. Lane's email. I think that's a good move for our children. But at the same time, if we're going to move our children in August, it seems like we have an immediate need to move them now. So basically, if we're going to move them in August to the CAPE program, the temporary move here, if we would move them here at the first of the year, they would already be here on D Hall, and they would just have to move down the hallway to vocational school. With that being said, I think that would be a win-win situation for all of us and give the parents what they want, and at the same time, we could work on the BIS building and get rid of anything that's in there, and we could find funding to renovate over the years. So therefore, I'd like to make a motion that we move our 5th graders from BIS to Clio, 3rd and 4th graders to D Hall here at the high school. I recommend that the Chesterfield Marlboro Technical program house our children with the CAPE program starting 2018 in August. And so we would move our kids from the D Hall to the vocational school building once the CAPE program is exited.
I second.
Any discussion? Mr. Driggers.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm quoting Ms. Fleming now. We're going to spend a good little bit of money to redo D Hall to make it where the children, 3rd and 4th grade kids can utilize it. So if we're looking at spending that money there, we're kind of wasting our money there too. But just let me finish. We're wasting our money to move them there also. It may be better if you were still entertaining that thought to move the older kids to D Hall, because at least you hadn't got to worry about the smaller kid getting to the toilet. At the 5th grader is a little bit bigger, and the toiletry would be easier for him. So it may be easier to look at moving the 5th graders to D Hall and send the 3rd and 4th graders to Clio or vice versa. But I don't know, I have no idea what the counts are on any of these children at all. How many 3rd graders, how many 4th graders, how many 5th graders we
Mr.
have.
Singletary in the audience. He can answer that. Mr. Singletary's out there.
Well, I don't know the count on all of those. You're not following what I'm saying on that one. It doesn't matter that I got 110 3rd graders. I'm talking about how many that we can actually use in those classrooms, because you can't put them but so many in the classroom. I'm just concerned. Like I said, I'm concerned about that, moving them in there on doing stuff like that, because we got to figure out exactly how many 3rd graders can go, how many 4th graders can go, how many 5th graders can go. Personally, my personal opinion, I would rather let the parents that are out there at BIS that want to move their children to come forward and tell us they want to move them, and then we offer them the movement. The children the parents that do not want to move their kids from BIS, they let them stay there. I think that's the better scenario, but I'm just putting my viewpoint out there.
Everyone?
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I understand what you're saying. That looks like about 10 or 12 there, and that's fine. I have no problem with that, ma'am. All I'm saying is I think that the parents that want to move their children should bring it forward, and we'll move them to Clio if we can move them.
What about the teachers and the staff? What about the teachers and the staff?
The teachers and staff, that's going to be up to Dr. Lane. That's not up to me about removing the teachers and staff around. That's going to be him. He's got to put teachers where he needs them.
Would everyone please sit back down, and please sit back down.
I didn't ask you to stand up, Mr. Willington did, but that's okay. But that's okay. All I'm saying is we need to have the option of moving those children is fine. But, you know, I don't know that everybody at BIS, I think there's more than 12 parents at BIS. I'm sorry, but I think there is. And I think some of them might not want to move, and they didn't choose to show up. All I want to do is for us to give everybody an opportunity to move if they want to. And that's the only way we can do that is to ask and have them come forward and fill out a form or something saying, I want to move my child so we'll know. That's all I wanted to say.
Ms. Bright?
I think.
Go ahead. It's all right. Go ahead.
I am a parent of a child that goes to BIS, and yeah, I want my child moved.
Okay.
I think
anything else? Mr. Branch?
And I do agree with Mr. Coachman's move. I think that would be a good idea.
Mr. Branch? Okay. Mr. Coachman?
Well, I made the motion. I think it makes sense.
Already seconded.
And at the same time, yeah, only a few people you see stand up, Mr. Rodriguez, but you haven't been to any of the forums. There were hundreds of people there at the forums. I've been to all of them. So say you see a few people here tonight. Some people may be working. Some people have jobs. So that's not for us to judge the parents because they are not here and make an assumption that they don't care. It's not right. We were sworn in to do what the citizens, for what's right for the children and our citizens of this county. If only one child was sick and could possibly lose their life, it would be on us. But we have plenty of people complaining, and I don't care what type test or what the test says. I see sick children. I see a sick grandchild that's in my home with my grandchild, and I know she wasn't sick before she went to that school. So for you to say you don't believe these people, I see the evidence every day in my home.
May I respond to Mr. Coachman?
You can respond.
I didn't say I didn't believe anyone. I didn't say that I didn't think other people were sick. I said that we should ask if you want to move your child. I know what you're saying. You're saying let's just take a blanket and move everybody. But some people may not want to. Some people may choose to stay. I know folks here want to move. That's no problem. Let's give them the opportunity to move. Let's give them an opportunity to move to Clio, wherever they want to move their child to if we've got a spot for it. But the ones that do not want to move, Are we right in forcing them to go also? I'm just being honest. Let's just be fair about it across the board. All I'm saying is ask the parents. Let them come forward and tell us something. That's all I'm saying.
We can't hear when everyone starts to mumble. So if you all would please be quiet and let the board do their work, it would be wonderful.
If the board was doing their work, we wouldn't be here.
Ms. Fleming?
All of a sudden, we want to ask the parents again. We are here to make decisions. I represent that district, and that school is in that district. I have heard, I've gotten calls, I've gotten stopped on the street, heard many, many complaints. Some of these people that's out here, I don't know them, but I hear what they are saying. Now, everybody is not here, not all the students are here, but there is enough evidence. I have enough evidence on the billboards all across the state that says one death for one death for an automobile accident is too many. That's right. All over the state, it's on the billboards. But yet we are willing to say jail engineering, Marlboro County School District, we are willing to put children's lives. The parents have told them their children are sick. We got documentation. I trust Mr. Coachman. Now all of a sudden, we can't make the decision. We want the parents to make the decision. We were put here to make the decision, whether it's popular or not. And we need to make it.
Mr. Norton.
I'm ready to make a decision.
Ms. Fleming, Mr. Norton has the floor.
I come from a school where a lot of Bennettsville parents have made a decision to send them to McCall. We didn't ask them to say, well, we can't send them or we can't take them unless all of them come. We took the ones who asked to come, that we had room for. And we turned very, very few away. I think that you said that we don't need to ask the parents again. Well, when we asked them the first time, I believe it was 78% didn't want them to move.
Yes.
I think that a parent has the right, they're a taxpayer in this county, not Bennettsville Intermediate School, not from McCall. They are taxpayers within the county, and I think if the room is available at Clio, which you've got 5 vacant rooms, that doesn't count, if I'm wrong, Ms. Kane, I could be wrong, but that doesn't count the fact that probably quite a few of the other rooms don't have 30 in them. They probably got classes of 20 or less. I have no problem with giving options to parents that if they would like to move their child, let's let them.
I got a question.
Hang on, let me go on around. Mr. Woods.
No, I made the motion. I'm ready to make a vote.
This is Mr. Coachman's.
I second the motion. I'm just ready.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
I did want to say one more thing.
He was talking. I want to cut him off.
I want my child to go to another school. You're going to make sure that you get somebody to pick him up individually and take him to another school. I want him to go to Wallace. So I want to know, since the parents are going to make the decision, I want Malcolm going to Wallace, so I want to know, can you accommodate that?
If it's the board's pleasure.
Not the board. The board already said that the parents are going to make the decision.
Well, I think what she's asking is, can you provide transportation? And I think we should. That should be part.
Just let me answer.
Okay.
Go ahead. Thank you, Herbert.
Now, if it's the board's pleasure to move all of the 5th grade to Wallace, I can transport them all day long. But I can't transport a child and you still got a school here in Bennettsville. If 5th grade is still in Bennettsville, I can't transport any child any place else.
Wait a minute, because the board just said if there's any parent out here that want their child to go
they
to
have
another
to provide
school,
their own transportation.
No. My child go to public school. He's entitled to school transportation. He's entitled now.
Well, you have to move all of them to one place.
The school district does not want to do anything about accommodating those children. children. You're not gonna take that away from him, because I have to work. And he gets on that bus every morning. I want him going to Wallace, and I expect that bus to take him out there.
I understand, but we only can, a child can only occupy one seat.
Well, they just told you that you
on
can
one
do
bus.
that.
No, well, they misunderstood. You can't do that. That's against the law.
Well, they said they was gonna let the children, the parents out there make the decision. So if there's
Well, that's
12
why-
of us
that's
out
why I
there,
want to stand up
all
and get
12
that
of
straight.
us are saying that we want our children to go to a different school.
Exactly.
The school board has to apply transportation for them.
May I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
If her child wants to go to Wallace and that's where it ends up at, you wouldn't pick that child up and take that child to Wallace? That child would have to come to Bennettsville to intermediate school to go back?
No, I didn't say that.
Well, that's what I want clarification on.
If the with the State Department paying it, that child, if you got a school in Bennettsville for the 5th grade, then that's the only place we can transport.
Okay.
Now, any place else you decide to send kids, they're gonna have to do it on their own, or you're gonna have to pay somebody else to do it.
Okay.
That's it. Now we can do it once they get to the elementary school or wherever. We can do it, but then you have to pay the State Department, salaries and mileage for transporting those students.
But what you're saying, and make sure I'm understanding what you're saying, if you decide to move the entire 5th grade, they would all come to BIS in the morning. Then you would put them on a different bus and take them to whatever school that was designated for the entire 5th grade to go to. Is that what you're saying?
Listen to me.
Okay.
If you want a child to go to Wallace or Clio or any place else, but the 5th grade is still designated at Bennettsville Intermediate School, it can't be done through the State Department.
Okay.
And that's who own those yellow buses out there, the State Department.
Okay.
We have to do what they say do with them. That's it. If I borrow your car, I got to do what you say do with your car.
Okay.
So if
that's
we
what we have to do with
send
those
them
buses.
to the high school, and if we decide to send all the 5th graders to the high school, okay, how would y'all get them there? Would they, like now?
Then the school be designated at the high school. We can pick them all up and transport them here. It wouldn't be a problem.
All right, so Mr.
Lane?
I don't understand that, because it's designated for everybody to go to Clio at the 5th grade. That would be designated also.
That would be the designated school. It wouldn't be a school over at Bennettsville Intermediate. It wouldn't be a 5th grade over there.
Class over there.
That's right. So we transport
the whole 5th grade to go to Clio. That's what I was
Whatever that grade is, then we can transport those kids.
Okay.
Dr. Lane?
And I think he just answered the question. In other words, whatever grade configuration that we designate to a particular site,
correct,
that's the group you can transport at state expense.
And if you want to make an individual move to move your child to Wallace or Clio or Blenheim or Bennettsville, as long as there's a distance school in your town, you will have to be, as a parent, responsible for moving that child.
That's school of choice, and you're responsible for that. Parents responsible for school of choice.
All right, moving on around.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McNeil. All right, Mr. Woods?
The only question I have is, when we do the reconfiguration, the students will have the appropriate teachers, amount of teachers to be able to accommodate them, right, Dr. Lane?
Absolutely, we will. Yes, we'll make those decisions, yes.
Okay.
Ms. Owenation?
Dr. Lane, no one has asked you any questions tonight in terms of recommendations. Do you have some guidelines you would like to share with us? And as part of that, the cost for transporting children, as Ms. Bright has brought out, there is a charge for that, but it can be accomplished. Is that not correct?
Okay. First of all, I like the motion that came from Mr. Coachman.
You like that?
If I understood you correctly, you're recommending that the 5th graders go to Clio.
Yes, sir.
And we provide accommodations for 3rd and 4th graders here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I like that recommendation. I also understand and appreciate Mr. Driggs's recommendation that we give parents the option if necessary. But I really want to say that for ease of transition and trying to move on, which we need to do, because let me say this to all of us, we need to move on for several reasons. One, we want to make sure that we're providing for the health and safety of our students.
That's right.
But secondly, and maybe not equally as important, but has very much importance as we look at the growth of children, is we've got to provide for their educational growth. So we need to resolve and settle this issue so that we can concentrate more fully on the academics. So did I see your hand, Mr. Branch? Oh, I thought I saw your hand, I'm sorry. My apologies. So my advice to the board would be this. I think we have a good and a very viable recommendation. I think Dr. Wagner and Dr. Bunch has come forward and have provided some opportunities that is a win-win for the next 10 to 20 years. When we think in terms of where South Carolina is going, and I know Representative Hennigan, who's in the General Assembly, can tell us more about this, but South Carolina is really looking at the global economy, and what do we need to do to get our young people ready to not just compete with students over in Darlington or Florence. That's my generation. Students today are not even competing with young people in North Carolina, Florida, or Georgia. those are my son's generation. Our young people today must compete with the students that are in India, that are in Japan, that are in Germany. Yes, and so one of the things that South Carolina is doing to help make that happen is what we call the profile of the South Carolina graduate. And part of that profile suggests or indicates that one of the things we want to do is provide as many dual enrollment opportunities as we possibly can. South Carolina would love to see as many young people who receive high school diplomas as possible also have an associate degree. So we've got a viable idea, we've got a viable recommendation, or at least the opportunity of a partnership that can take us into really the 21st century for the next 10 to 15 years. So I'm going back to Mr. Coachman's recommendation. I really think that has some possibilities. Now, is it going to challenge administration and the teaching staff and all of us? Yes, because we would have to do some hard and fast work, but
we can do it.
With Dr. McLeod and his team and the rest of us, we just have to roll up our sleeves and get the work done. We would do what you and the rest of the board tell us to do. And I heard at the last meeting, Mr. Farr said the high school is ready to work with us. We're ready to work. Tell us what to do and we'll do it.
Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Okay, I got a question.
Mr. Driggers.
Dr. Lane.
Yes.
Assuming that Mr. Coachman's recommendations are accepted, you're thinking all this can be done over the Christmas holidays, or should we wait till the end of the semester to move the children instead of disrupting them? I'm asking your opinion. Just what would we need to do on that?
Excellent question, Mr. Driggers. And we would bring all of our resources to bear to make this happen during the holidays.
And you think the disruption of the children from one school to the other will have no bearing on anything at all, as far as their grades? I'm just asking that.
No, I'm not going to say that there won't be some challenges. Yes, sir, there will be. But I'm looking at the long-term benefits. I think the sooner we can bring this issue to a close, the quicker I can challenge the principals and the teachers. Because here's where John Lane is. I want every student in this district achieving at his or her maximum. That's my commitment to this district and to these parents, to this board, to all of you. I believe in excellence in student achievement. That's the hallmark of my career. If you go back and study John Lane's career, you will see that every school and every district where he's ever worked, students have always achieved at the maximum. All of the schools where I've been principal have gotten Palmetto Gold and Silver Award, State Department Incentive Awards. You name it, we've gotten it. That's what I want to see happening here. But one of the things that we need to help us get there, we've got to go ahead and bring closure to this issue. You cannot imagine, and you cannot imagine the vision that I see ahead for this district. This is a great district. I was telling my wife just the other day, and she and I would talk all the time. If we had started our career in Marlboro County, I'm not going to tell you how many years ago, because some of you might guess my age. But if we had started our career in Marlboro County X numbers of years ago, trust me, you couldn't pry us away from here with like my great-grandfather used to say, with a crowbar. But having said that, this is a good community. We have good people here. And I talk and interact with all of you, I really do. And sometimes, some of you say, well, I agree with John Lane. Sometimes you say, well, I don't rather John Lane really understand where we're coming from. But one thing I like about all of you as I interact with you, I sense a genuineness to wanting to make sure that we do the best for these young people. So we've got not a recommendation, but a motion on the floor. I'm in support of it because I see where it can take us. It can help us, one, provide for the safety and health of the children, but two, give us an opportunity to say, okay, now that the safety and health and well-being of the kids have been provided for, Mr. Singletary, you and your great teaching staff, and he's got a great staff. If you ever want to see teachers who care about kids, go to Bennesville Intermediate School. We can say to them, listen, now that this is done, tell us what else can we do to support you as you're helping Billy learn to read. See, we don't want a single child to leave 3rd grade who can't read. That's our commitment. We don't want a single child leaving 3rd grade, in fact, I'm going to take it back one grade, 2nd grade, who cannot subtract with regrouping. We owe that to you, but most importantly, we owe it to your children. So I want to thank you, Ms. Onishan, for giving me this chance, for asking me what was my opinion. My opinion is let's move forward, let's close this issue, and give the administrative staff and the teaching force the opportunity to go ahead and let's continue to educate these kids with the idea of excellence, and I'm underlining that word, excellence in student achievement. Thank you.
Got one more question.
Well,
I got one more question. As we look at this, Dr. Lane, we're considering all this as temporary, as changing it all in 2018 school year, like Mr. Coachman said, where we would be moving the children then, K's, we hope, to Winn-Dixie, and we're going to be moving these 3rd, 4th, and I guess 5th graders at that time to that wing. So what we're talking about doing right now is 6 months of temporary.
Absolutely. Okay. Yes. Because based on what Dr. Wagner and Dr. Bunch shared with me, they will have the Winn-Dixie, I'm sorry, I should not call it Winn-Dixie, the Northeastern Technical College Bennesville site ready and fully operational by August 2018. And if that is the case, then the sky's the limit of what we can do and where we can go.
I have something to say. Beg your pardon? All right, would you like to go again? I'll wait and go at the end. Jackie, I'm sorry, you had
Tell me where
deferred.
our 5th and 6th grade self-contained can go.
Currently, and of course I'd have to sit down with Ms. Kane, and she's truly an excellent educational leader, but I would probably want the self-contained to go to Clio, but I'd want to sit down with her. Those kind of, details, yes, we'll work out. I feel confident they can and will be worked out, yes.
What number of students is there in those 2 classes?
Don't quote me on this, but I would imagine because they're self-contained, we try not to put more than 12 per class. Okay. That's usually the state guidelines.
Okay.
All right. First of all, I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't have a child that goes to any of these schools, but I am concerned about the fact that 78% of the folks that are involved in that school said they did not want to move. 25, I think you said the letter was 25 teachers of 28. 20 of 28, okay. 20 of 28 teachers said they were fine and they did not want to move.
They don't, let me qualify that.
All right.
They do not want to move over the holidays at this point. They did not say that in the long run, they wouldn't support a move. I want you to understand the difference now. And what I'm saying is, they feel that a decision is never as important as the timing of the decision. And they feel the timing of this decision is not in the benefit, their benefit or the benefit of the children. They did not say that if we can't fix this school at some point, that they wouldn't support another option. But at this point, they do not want to move.
All right? Now,
I'm sorry.
there is, I believe it was documented, there is more mold on the high school hallway than there is in the Bennettsville Intermediate School. That's a fact. Now, the other piece is that we have had scientific facts presented that state there is no harmful mold in the Bennettsville Intermediate School. And we have had no documentation brought forward that is from doctors. We've heard about doctors, but we haven't seen anything from doctors. We've just heard about doctors. And we also don't know what kind of environment children are living in when they're not at school. Let me speak, please. Let me speak. The next thing that I find of tremendous concern is that for about 3 meetings, we have seen demonstrated here behavior from adults that if they had been students in the classroom, they would have been suspended or expelled. And that, I rest my case with that. And all of those things are of great concern to me in terms of how we do government. Again, I don't have a dog in this fight. If the majority wants to do this, fine. But I just wanted to be sure that we did return at some point to facts.
Madam Chair, I call for the
Let's call
question.
for the question.
I
All
call for
right,
the
all
question,
in
Madam
favor?
I misheard one thing that you said because Ms. Onesian said D Hall was being used all except 2 classes last meeting.
And it has mold on it.
Madam Chair, I call for the question.
All right. All in favor of Mr. Coachman's motion, please raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. No, put them up again and let me get them read off so the secretary gets it. Ms. Owenation, Mr. Woods, Ms. Fleming, Mr. Coachman, Mr. Branch, and Ms. Bright are in favor. And so the motion's carried. Wait a minute, let's let the opposition vote. All opposed, please raise your right hand. All abstaining.
I'm going to, Madam Chairman, I would like,
Please try to control yourselves.
Madam Chairman, I would like to abstain because, as I said, I just really would like for the parents to have a little more input, more than the ones that show up here. And I would like to have everybody have a little input in it. I still would like for people to come forward and express their opinion. That's why I'm abstaining from my vote.
Okay. The motion is carried, and we move on. Thank goodness.
I'd like to say that I abstain too. As I said, it's not necessarily the decision that I am abstaining from, it's the timing of the decision.
All right. All right. Thank goodness we can move on from this. All right. Now, let's see.
Need to go back up.
Let me just, Madam Chair.
What do we want to change now, Ms. Fleming?
Nothing. I think at this point, as a board, I don't know whether we want to continue doing any type of renovations until some real decisions have been made what we are going to do. They are taking the students out, And so I don't know whether this is something we need to talk about. Do we still want to put money out there?
Let's
This may
just
not be
move
the
on
time.
with the agenda tonight and then have discussion later.
Later when?
Any time other than now.
January now.
So right now, we're gonna cease any kind of things, anything done there at that school? That's what we're hearing?
There are other things to consider. Can I move on with the agenda?
No, because we're talking about money and we're talking about people working there. And I'm saying, do we still want to continue to do that while the students are not there?
There is no item on here that enables us to vote to do anything with that and comply with FOIA.
But we're making some decisions here now that you're saying we need to.
What we're doing is we're following FOIA and the agenda.
We are following.
So let me move on, please.
But we're saying that we're gonna take the children out, but continue to pour money in there. Continue to have gel engineering, put in all these units that we have. Do we want to do that?
Ms. Fleming?
Do we want to do that?
Madam Chair, Mr. Fleming.
Ms. Fleming, please allow me to continue with the agenda. Update on maintenance audit and maintenance list. Dr. Rippon McLeod.
We could put that on the agenda if we had a 2/3 vote.
Put it on for next one. We let it. School's almost up. Christmas break's coming up. We'll just see.
Dr. McLeod? Thank you.
So, Ms. Nan, you was correct because we can't make a decision on any of this until we,
Dr. McLeod?
Okay, what I just passed out to you, everything is highlighted in yellow. Those are things that have been addressed or are being addressed, the ones in yellow. And as for the stoplight at Wallace, the Highway Commission doesn't meet until the second Tuesday in January. So
what's that date, Doc?
It's the second Tuesday in January. That's when the Highway Commission meets.
And we on the agenda to...
Yeah, in other words, they're supposed to consider that stoplight at that point in time.
But Dr. McLeod, I thought y'all was gonna also put something on there about the speed limit or either the other sign, the bus, student crossing sign, or school bus.
Well, they have a reduced speed limit up there as it is. In other words,
I'm not talking about Wallace now. I'm talking about once you cross that 79 intersection. I'm talking about further down this way toward Dennisville.
Okay, Mr. McNeil said that they'll take care of all of that at one time.
Okay, but the stop sign is on the agenda and that sign is not on the agenda. Do it need to be on there? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Dr. McLeod, if this committee does not vote to put that light up there, do you have an alternative plan that you can present to them? They're very tough about doing that. We had to have 3 deaths on I-77 before they put a light up there. So is there an alternative suggestion that we can make?
I have one.
And I do too.
Other than asking the sheriff to possibly put a car up there during the time when school is dismissed and when school is taken in.
There was a suggestion, excuse me, Mr. Coachman, by the fire department and some of the police officers that we could make a right turn there rather than going across those 4 lanes so that people aren't darting out in front of people on the ongoing traffic. So they would make a right and then make a left further down. I don't know how feasible that is, but if
all
you
of
would,
that is in the commission's hand. In other words, anything that's going to be done in that road over there, the commission would have to do it. In other words, we don't have the right to do anything to the roads. So that's going to be their decision, whatever, they do with that.
We've had 3 more wrecks out there since our last meeting.
Just had one last week again. That's 4.
That's right, 4th.
So, hopefully they'll take that into consideration whenever they consider, putting a light up there.
Okay. Doc, when you get a date and time for that meeting, can you give me a time and date for that meeting? So
I know it's the second Tuesday. I don't know exactly what time it is.
Okay.
He said, Mr. McNeil says it's 6 o'clock.
What about 38?
Yeah, DOT on 38.
Right.
Mr. Driggers had a question.
Dr. Platt, I noticed that Blenheim is not on this list, and I know it's a new school. But at the same token, when I go to Blenheim, I see paint chipping and pieces coming off the side of the wall on the front there.
Okay,
do we plan to maintain maintenance on those?
Yes, we're getting bids on that. In other words, you just don't have one bid on that painting on the front now. My painting crew has been addressing everything at Blenheim except the tall area.
Okay, like you say, it looks like an area of stucco or whatever that needs to be replaced and painted on there. And the only reason I bring that up is because we've got two great new-looking schools, and we really need to maintain them as best we can to keep those in good shape. And that's one reason I brought that up, since I did not see anything on here.
Right, and there's nothing on there about Wallace or Blenheim.
Yeah, I understand that. I saw that.
Because, most of the maintenance with those two is really minor.
But let's don't let it get bad on either one of them. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Park. The financial reports as of November 28th, 2017, and the Abbeville funds, but you've already talked about that.
Right. You have the report in front of you, and it's dated as of November 28th, 2017. Are there any questions regarding the financial report? Okay.
Anything?
May I
Mr.
ask
Norton?
just one question?
Certainly.
Now that we've decided that to move the children, or the Abbeville money, what will have to happen now that you've put a grant in saying what you're going to do with it, and that may or may not happen?
We'll have to go through some type of amendment process in order to utilize those funds in some other capacity. Let me mention that Abbeville funds cannot be used for new construction, so it's got to be deferred maintenance.
It could be renovations, not deferred.
You could do renovations, yes,
We
sir.
won't have to give it back.
No, I don't see that that's going to happen. I think what will happen is we will have to do an amendment, and then we'll have to we'll bring that back so we have consensus on what that amendment should be. There's actually 3 projects that are included in the application. The first priority was BIS, and you can see what the second and third priorities are. Be glad to bring that back to you in January.
Well, as Mr. Coachman said, we're making a temporary move for the safety of our children. We still may be working there, so we need to make that decision.
It could be that you're still going to want to prepare that facility, whether or not it's at some future point you end up doing demolition and additional construction. I'm sure that's all going to be a part of a lengthy discussion.
It doesn't sound like anybody will want to go to that building, so probably not. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Dr. Sterling Harris, the district's test scores.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chairperson and members of the board,
I'm sorry. No,
You
I
have
don't
a problem with him presenting?
Yes, but I don't have a problem with it presenting, but I have a problem presenting tonight because we haven't had a chance to look at it. I would actually let us just study and look over it, and he presented to us on next board meeting. if that would be a problem. Dr. Harris, is that okay with you?
Yeah, I'm just giving you this kind of for information.
Okay, that's
yeah,
fine.
This is just for information. What I've prepared for you, someone asked about a comparison of our district with surrounding districts. And so what you have in your folder is a comparison of Marlboro County to Darlington County in reference to test scores from the report cards that were recently released. And you have a comparison of Marlboro County to Dillon 4, which is more in line with our county in terms of students. We have about 4,000, they have about 4,000. Of course, Darlington borders us, so it's a little bit larger. And you'll see some comparisons. It's direct comparisons that are prepared by the State Department of Education. There is a new module that they put on the State Department website that anyone can go to, not only me, but you can go to. And what that module will allow you to do is it will allow you to input Marlboro County, and you can pick any county across the state as your second county, and it will give you a direct comparison of scores. You can also put in your individual school, pick any school across the state, and it will give you a direct comparison. As you can, with the two that I provided, you'll see a favor. It shows us in a pretty much even light with Dillon 4. There are some places where they outpace us and some places where we outpace them. Darlington County has a different funding capacity, and it's a larger district, and so we trailed them slightly in terms of scores. But you can do it with any county that you so choose. It's a new thing that the State Department's added because so many people seek this information. Okay?
Thank you, Doc.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. It's much easier to review when you've got the pages like this rather than trying to do it on the cell phone. That gets a little tedious. All right. Dr. Cobb, the retiree salary cap.
Board members, I was not quite clear on what you were asking in terms of an update on retiree salary caps, but what I did bring with me is to share with you is that in this district you previously voted earlier in the school year for the retirees across the board, regardless of subject area, to be paid bachelor's degree, 14 years of experience. But what I will share with you from PEBA, the Employer's Manual, Public Employee Benefits Authority, that concerning the earnings limitations. A member who retires from South Carolina retirement system after January 1st, 2013, and returns to employment after having been retired for at least 30 consecutive days may earn up to $10,000 each calendar year without affecting his or her retirement benefits. The earnings limitation does not apply if the member was at least 62 as of the date of retirement, or, and I'm going to leave a couple of things out because the other things does not retire to staff members or teachers, or the member is a teacher employed by a school district to teach in a critical academic or geographical area, and most of our subjects are critical areas, and we are a critical geographical needs area, so we have the latitude of requesting that those teachers not be affected by the $10,000 earnings limitation. I don't know what else you all may have been looking for in terms of a retiree salary cap.
Did that satisfy what everyone wanted?
I don't clear everything up there.
No, my question is, are their salaries going to change mid-calendar year?
Okay.
Because they signed a continuous contract, so
the contract,
salary per year.
According to the district attorney, there is to be a break in service at the end of their tarry. That break in service constitutes the ending of that contract, hence starting a new contract. So the contract that they're actually under ends the day their Terry ends. And we have to issue them a letter of agreement.
And that's law?
That's according to the district attorney, yes.
The contract that they signed, it's a 190-day contract?
The contract that they signed makes no mention of salary.
I'm saying 190 days.
Yes.
So it's 190 days. So I'm just asking the question. So if the contract they signed for 190 days, if they work 190 days, you got to pay them for 190 days, right?
Yes, but according to the law, once they end their Terry, regardless of whether that contract has 190 days on it or not, it ends our ability to pay them according to that contract. We must pay them as working retirees.
Is that the way
That's the law.
explained to them?
That's the law.
When they signed this contract, was that the way it's explained to them?
No.
Is it true that some districts issued a 90-day contract or whatever, or whenever their Terry ended?
Yes, and I have a number of those that were sent to me from various districts.
I just think we have to honor
Let me ask you.
that one.
Not according to the attorney.
Okay, he would say according to attorney, but when we gave them the contract, that money for 190 days was budgeted for the contract. Is the money in the budget for a 190-day contract?
No, that's a question that you have to ask the finance guy.
You say yes. Well, that's their money then.
Not according to state law.
Well, let's
the contract ends,
try to do the right thing.
The contract ends as a contract employee and becomes a working retiree at the end of their Terry.
Do we stand a chance here of losing teachers in the middle of the year?
Of course.
If they get mad and they leave.
That's at any time.
But, yeah, I know that's any time. Anybody can leave anytime they want to, but we're not a county that can afford to aggravate or insult anybody that's teaching for us, for sure. We need every opportunity that we have.
But Mr. Driggs, I can only tell you what the district attorney has relayed to us. Anything outside that could be left up to the board.
But let me make sure I'm understanding, okay? It's strictly a money thing. I meant, because if they keep the 190-day contract, all thing it is what we're paying them now, 190 days, they'll get to that 10,000 quicker than they will if we go back to the 14-year that we have in place with the back.
It just depends on when they went under working retiree, as a working retiree.
But at some point, like I said,
when they went into Terry,
the magical figure is that $10,000. When they get to that, then it comes back in.
If they're retired after January 1st, 2013, then they're under the $10,000 earnings limitation, unless we file that it's a critical area that they're critical needs area that they're in, or this is a critical geographical area. This year, 12. We have 12 that are going to retire before the end of December.
Before the end of December. So they are Terry now, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And they become working retirees.
Become working retirees, which we advised them to be paid at the bachelor's plus 14 years in terms of the salary.
Right.
We voted on that and we got that. What you're saying now is that you are issuing them something other than the original
A
contract.
letter of agreement.
A letter of agreement,
Right.
which we do in all cases when someone retires. Is that
It hadn't been this bad in the past. We've issued letters of agreement at the end or the beginning of the next year.
right?
We have not had many, if any, who ended Terry in the middle of the year.
So you're saying we as a board can make a difference in that, or we cannot legally?
According to the district attorney and Mr. Park, we had a phone conference with the attorney. According to the district attorney, Mr. Park, we could or couldn't.
I have a couple things that I'd like to ask.
All right. Wait just a minute, let him deal with this essential issue.
Let me also address an issue that in the event that we were to pay at a rate other than the 14 years, we've got a financial concern with existing employees that may impact our budget significantly. We looked at that last year. We determined it's in the $200,000 to $300,000 range. So part of what we've got in the budget for existing employees considers the effect of those working retirees that were on staff July 1.
So you've anticipated this in the budget? Is that what you're saying?
We anticipated with existing employees, not necessarily those that were coming off in the current fiscal year. So we've got quite a number of working retirees at the beginning of the year, and if we were to increase their rate of pay to the full rate of pay, it would have a significant budget impact for this current fiscal year.
The other issue, Ms. Onishan, is you have to consider that there are actually districts who pay their working retirees a full salary. But then what we have to look at is whether we have been consistent, because we are saying to our other working retirees that we can only pay you at 14 years of experience. But if you come off mid-year, we're going to leave you at your present full-year salary until the year ends. That's not being fair to all of the other working retirees.
Mr. Branch?
So we have not filed with the State Department the critical needs option.
We can do on an individual basis. Just to say that teacher X is working in a critical needs area in a critically geographical area, and they don't have to meet the $10,000.
So we have to do it on an individual basis. What kind of time frame before we get an answer?
We haven't had many of them following with that, so I'll have to find out from the State Department.
Let me ask you this.
I'm sure.
This question: if a teacher is teaching a classroom with 30 to 36 kids, would that be a critical situation?
No, it would be the subject area or the geographical critical needs area. And we do, most of our subject areas are critical needs. And we are in a critical geographical area as it relates to recruitment.
So what we have on our hands, we have some teachers here that we're expecting to get paid one thing, and now mid-year, they're going to find out they're getting paid something less?
Not necessarily. These teachers knew that they were going to become working retirees at mid-year.
But did they know that money was going to be cut?
And the districts, according to the school board, the district's expectation is that we pay them at 14 years of experience with a bachelor's degree.
Mr. Branch?
Well, I know we can't take a vote on this tonight, but what I would like to see happen as a board, because they signed a 190-day contract, I'd like to see us continue to pay them and immediately file with the State Department, all 12 people, to pay them what they signed a contract for. Now, I think all 12 of these realize that next year, when
But
this
that's all,
contract ends,
we can only file for them to be excluded from the $10,000
and I think they
earnings limitation.
realize next year they'll go on the 14-year.
But it doesn't affect the 14 years, it's the $10,000 cap that they can only make, that we can file that they be exempt from.
I think what Mr. Branch is trying to say is next year, teacher A, instead of getting the 90-day contract for X amount of dollars, next year you would give that teacher A the contract for the 14-year, and that would be from the beginning. And they would realize from the beginning that's what they're going to get. There would be no miscommunication or no, them not realizing what they're getting. I think that's what he's trying to say.
That's to be done anyway once they become a working retiree.
I understand that, but they may think that they signed that contract for 190 days at the beginning and they were going to get it. I know what you're saying. I understand exactly what you're saying. It was in black and white. You should have realized it. But, there may have been some misconception on that. I wish that we, as a school board and school district, we had specified that in that contract or specified it from the start so there would be no mistake in it all. they could have made any mistake about it.
In
They
other
would
words,
have known from the start.
you're suggesting that we should have given them a contract that says, the regular contract would state that you're a contracted employee for 90 days.
Or whenever.
And then after your 90 days, then you're to receive a working retirees.
I would like for them to have known that on January 1, that your pay is going to be changed, whether it was good, bad, or ugly, but changed to another pay scale. I think should have known that. Yeah, I wish they had known that from the start. That's just my opinion.
Dr. Carr, was there anything that forced them to retire? Terry.
Only the end of their Terry.
Did they have to tarry?
No, that was by choice.
So they could have worked and continued to work on beyond normal retirement age?
Of course.
Okay. So if they chose to do the tarry and then do the retirement and whatever, was that to get double?
All of that was their choice.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm getting at. You know, if you want to work, if you want your full salary, then you need to work. So, any other questions?
I do.
Mr. Norton.
You said that there weren't many teachers that fell into this situation. Obviously, there was some then. What happened to them last year? Did they stay on their full pay until the end of the year, or did they lose it at that point?
It's always been once they came off Terry, then they became working retirees.
So they went to the last year 7 years?
Right.
And
This is not a new pattern. We've been doing this.
and I'd like to read something and from GCB code, the policy manual. It says when issuing contracts, the district will offer Terry employees working under Terry agreements that will expire during the ensuing school year the same type of contract the participant had the previous year. The contract will specifically contain notice that the contract expires on the date designated in the employee's Terry agreement and will specifically reiterate said expiration date. Did the contracts do that?
No.
I didn't think so. So I don't see, it looks like we violated our own policy.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think it was in purpose. I don't think it was on purpose, but it was certainly an oversight. You pay for your oversights.
That being said, violated policy, the right thing to do would be to pay the people. The money's already been budgeted.
We need to see what we did do, and what, if we did that, then bring us back, because right, you were saying critical needs, and you said they all are not in critical needs. The critical needs people will probably be okay if we get the clarification from the State Department. But say if there's out of 12 people you're talking about, maybe 4 of them are critical needs, they'll be fine, but the others...
Again, that only applies to the $10,000 earnings limitation that we can apply for them to be exempt from. Anything else would have to be, for them to be paid a full salary, would have to be a board's decision.
Can you bring this back to us in January, fleshed out with something concrete that we can look at? Because we're not going to get anywhere tonight.
I think it affects some people in November, so I think it's something that needs to be handled now.
We don't even know what we're talking about.
We just continue.
So how do we?
We just continue to pay them until we make that decision. That's what your contract states.
Mr. Childs?
Dave Duff.
Okay.
We made a phone conference conversation with Dave Duff Wednesday or Thursday of last week.
Well, Well, I think we need that legal opinion. Certainly don't want to step outside of that, but I think we need to honor our own policy. And I need to know how much it's going to cost, if it was
Right.
written in or not. So we do need a little bit of information back.
And we can always make this retroactive. So just
That's what I was gonna
because
suggest.
there's not
Once we get the
a
information,
decision made tonight, doesn't mean that we can't go back to a previous date.
Can you all have this squared away for January? So we have something concrete and vote needed.
I would need for you to specify what do you mean have this squared away in January.
We'll have an action
know
for you to
who,
take.
We'll
what,
have an action
how
first.
much?
So will anything change on your contract between now and January?
And the other working retirees, they did not receive a contract for like the Terry people did either. They received a letter of agreement.
Letter of agreement at the
That's what I
beginning of the
thought.
school year, back in the summer.
So they didn't have a contract that says we're going to pay them for 190 days. They had a letter of agreement with the understanding to begin with.
Which could have
course.
happened here.
Yeah.
But maybe not until they retire. You
And-
can't do the
and-
letter of
and-
agreement until they actually
And
retire. Is that what
letters
you're
of
saying?
agreement are only given to working retirees. They're not given at the same time as contracts.
Right.
But they're given out during the summer.
All right.
Okay.
So I just want to, are they going to stay the same until next month?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Well, I mean, whatever action we've taken will remain in those cases that they've been moved back to the 14 years, that's what will happen. But in the event that the recommendation is to make it retroactive, of course,
So how
that
many-
will,
How many's been changed so far?
Only 5. It was 4 professionals, 4 certified and 1 classified.
So their Terry is already ended.
Right, the other 7 will end at the end of December.
Okay.
and so prior, well.
Yes, it's 12 total.
Yeah. And the January meeting is, I believe it's on the 8th or the 9th? 8th. We'll see whether, if that decision is made at that point in time, then we can correct it, make whatever changes for the 15th payroll.
All right, Dr. Cobb, would you give us an update on the SROs?
That's fair.
I've asked Sheriff Lemon to come give us an update on SROs.
All right. Sheriff Lemon? Thank you, Dr. Cobb.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Chairman, Dr. Lane, school board members, House Representative, Ms. Pat Hennigan, to all the one that's in attendance this afternoon. Just a quick update. I spoke with Dr. Cobb and Dr. Delane and a few more this afternoon. I have 1 school resource officer that is certified by the state and ready to go. And I could have another one within the next 2 or 3 weeks. And they asked if I could just give a quick update on that. So that is the update.
Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Good deal. Thank you.
Looking forward to those.
All right. We're ready for this. Let's see. I haven't skipped anything, have I? Let me see.
Dr. Lane,
Management audit?
update on management
Who
audit.
does that?
Oh, where did I find that?
Dr. Lane.
Oh, yeah. I already, why did I put a check on that? Dr. Lane, an update on the management audit.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson and members of the board. I'm pleased to advise that Dr. Bain is scheduled to be in our district on December 14th and also December 20th. And she will be conducting a full audit of district level procedures and our management profile. And she will provide a detailed report of her findings.
Good. Thank you. All right, and next we have the superintendent's report, the district graduation rate for 2016.
Again, Madam Chairperson, members of the board, I'm very pleased to advise that our graduation rate for 2017 reached 83.5, and that is a tremendous accomplishment. Over the years, it has risen from, in 2012, in 2012, which was at 64.8 to its current 83.5. The state's graduation rate, and to show you how close we're getting, we are really closing the gap with the state, and our goal is actually to surpass the state. The state's current graduation rate is 84.6, so we are on their heels. And I saw some former colleagues of mine from the State Department the other day. I said, look out, we are coming.
Sounds good.
Regarding the district's holiday events, you have this in your packet, but I also wanted to give you your own personal hard copy. If you like I am, sometimes you just like to have a copy you can have to yourselves. And we invite you to join our schools at these various events. I was at Wallace last week when they had their concert on last Thursday evening, and I had a delightful time. And of course, we have events scheduled right on through until December 20th. Thank you.
All right, the district organizational chart.
Thank you again, Madam Chairperson, members of the board. Thank you. We just want to give you an updated organizational chart. We sent you the link, but we also want you to have the hard copy for your perusal. And one reason we want you to have this is so you know who we are, and also so you know what we're supposed to be doing. We believe in transparency, and you can count on us doing what it is that you expect us to do. And actually, you can count on us doing even more, because as I said previously, we're committed to the 4,200 children of this district. Thank you.
Thank you. And we need to go into executive session.
Miss, I think we were going to go back.
What do we need to change now?
No, ma'am. We were going to go back and look at individual items for the January board that we wanted to add.
We put that on hold.
And we thought we would put that on hold until we finish all the concerns.
Where do I have that?
And you
All
start
right.
with Mr. Woods.
On the open section of
So
the
Mr. Norton.
You got it down what I need, Ms. Parks?
Yep, already got it.
I would like to add the McCall marquee to Reverend Wood's question about the high school marquee. I'd like to see, and any other schools we feel that their marquees might need an updating.
Is that it?
At this point, if we're going to address the retiree situation again, then I'm okay. But I want to make sure that's on there for next time.
It's going to be on there. Ms. Fleming?
I want Mr. Parks, this new tax bill. I was at the legislative update, and the lady from, she talked about some things that it might affect us with this QSAC bond. Find out what you can, see how that's going to affect us, and if you can have that at the next meeting, I would appreciate it.
Got that, Mr. Parks? Okay. Mr. Driggers?
If we're going to move the children, I'd like to know what our plans are for BIS, for that school building. So let's put that on the agenda so we can at least start a discussion on it and talk about what we'd like to do with it.
All right. Ms. Bright?
Well, that's what I was going to say, what we're going to do with that building. It's going to be hard to talk about it on this panel. So I don't know if we need
A retreat?
or something where we can talk about it.
All right, I'm going to put,
We'll put it on the agenda, maybe we decide to have one, a retreat, or something.
even if we had a simple retreat that was local, but informal discussion. Okay. Right. Yep. All right, Mr. Branch?
That word simple, nothing simple up here, go ahead.
I know, there's no.
We're getting information tonight about Northeastern Tech and our CAPE program, so I think that needs to be on it so that we can make a decision, or has the decision been made?
It hadn't been made.
Okay, because we need that on there so we can, because that needs to
All
happen
right,
soon.
Mr. Coachman?
The lighting at the ball field in Wallace, we want to bring back the traffic light to see what kind of decision we have by then. If we have anything with the light or turning lane, the option, whatever they have for us. And so we were at a conference this weekend with the delegation. They was also discussing some resolutions for retirees and the $10,000 cap. I'd like to get an update and see what the decision was made on that, because they said they were going to be some changes made to help with the $10,000 cap or remove the cap. So just want to give that information and somebody help follow up on it. Dr. Lane, maybe somebody follow up on it to see what the outcome was.
Okay. All right. Where'd Ms. Owenation go?
I don't know, she left out the door with her husband.
One other thing,
You're having a conference when the meeting, her husband left out there.
I know it's early, but evidently last year it was late. But I think by next board meeting, we need to begin budget discussions for 2018-19 school year.
You said budget discussion?
Okay. Just sort of bird walking type stuff. So let's start talking about it, because last year it was balanced before we had the first workshop.
That's right. Now, with the executive session, before we make the motion, do we have personnel matters?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have contractual matters?
No.
No. All right. New hires?
We should have new hires, yes.
We do have.
Dr. Collins, new hires.
Okay. All right. Resignations? None? Okay. High school petitions?
None.
None? Okay. Receipt of legal advice? Yes. And acting superintendent issues. Would someone please make a motion to go into, to go into executive session for personnel, receipt of legal advice, and acting superintendent issues? All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. I can't tell if you voted, Mr. Coachman. All right, so the motion's carried unanimously. All right. The motion's carried, no action was taken, no decision was made. And Dr. Cobb.
The administration recommends approval of 3 elections.
Is there a
Madam Chair,
motion?
I move that we accept 3 elections as proposed by the administration.
Second.
All right.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion's carried unanimously. All right, and next, would someone like to make a motion regarding the acting superintendent's issues?
Madam Chairman, I would. I'd like to make a motion that we give the acting superintendent a 15% increase for his work that he's been doing, a 15% increase on his salary, retroactive from the day he started in August.
A second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? And are you abstaining?
I am.
All right, so.
I am abstaining as well.
All right, let's do this vote again, all right? All in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. And it's Mr. Coachman, Mr. Branch, Mr. Driggers, Ms. Fleming, Mr. Norton.
What a combination.
And so the motion is carried. Any abstentions, please? And that is Mr. Woods, Ms. Owenation, Ms. Bright, and Ms. Parsons. Are there any? There weren't any opposing. Okay.
You
All right.
opposed?
No, I didn't oppose. I abstained.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move forward now.
And the motion's carried. And now, Mr. Coachman, would you please make...
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
I second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. And we are done.